Ho, ho, ho! The Bureau Boys is an improvised detective serial. Every Monday, the Bureau Boys solve crimes based on clues sent in by their Elvinformants.
That's you! Go to thebureauboys.com to submit your clues, Elvinformant.
Season's greetings, everyone.
Ho, ho, ho!
Ho, 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 indeed. When we last saw the Bureau Boys, they had just solved the case of the Tasteful Cabinet, and now they find themselves back in their office at the Bureau. Well, let's just say the sub-basement of the Bureau.
For they live deep underground, where they do their work.
How many times do I have to remind you that the Bureau Boys don't live at work? They moved into that house with the Tasteful Cabinet.
Oh yes, that's right, their new summer home and shag pad on occasional weekends when someone other than the two of them decide to visit, which isn't very often. In fact, I'm not sure anyone has come over to their new house yet.
I thought you were going to say when someone other than them actually shags in the house.
Well, there are a few neighborhood kids, high schoolers I believe, that are using the house as a shag pad, and you know it ruffles the feathers of one Detective Riley.
Detective Riley definitely doesn't like those naughty boys and girls.
He might even make sure they get coal in their stockings if their parents don't do a good enough job raising them. But I'm not passing judgment, I'm just a narrator.
Speaking of which, maybe we should point out that the Bureau Boys are just lazing about the office. Detective Potter has his feet kicked up on a desk, and Detective Riley is tossing a switchblade up into the air and catching it end over end, like a naughty boy. Does it sound sexual when I say naughty boy? Because in my head, it sounds sexual.
I think, depending on the listener and their experiences in the world, it will be perceived as naughty, as sexual, or, normal. But it depends on the age, I think, of the listener, and what they've gone through. So, I say keep going. Go for it.
Okay, well, naughty Detective Riley is tossing a switchblade, which, by the way, I put in his stocking when he was but 11 years old.
Well, we're not supposed to have contact with the Bureau Boys. We're supposed to be observers only. Those are the rules of narration.
We're also not supposed to call them the Bureau Boys. Didn't you get that memo? And I didn't have contact with them. I simply slid a credit card through the latch, broke into his house, and dropped a switchblade into his stocking.
Oh, well, in that case, rules have not been violated. You're good.
Thank you, narrator. Anyhow, you got anything to add to this scene? Other than the Bureau Boys, other than Detective Riley and Detective Potter are just sitting around celebrating their latest victory?
Yes, also, in the corner is a small dumpster fire to keep the place warm, for as we know, there is no central heating or air in the sub-basement of the Bureau.
And as you know, narrator, I believe by definition, a dumpster fire cannot be small. It's at least the size of a dumpster, which is why they often describe bullpens as dumpster fires when they're very, very bad. Remember when Johnny Greenwich was very, very bad coming out of the bullpen? Last case for the Bureau Boys?
Some would even call him naughty. Some, like yourself, narrator,
Well, I had money on that game. I wish he would have thrown up some noughts in that inning, but instead he threw up a big 6.
Listen, I don't want to hear about your problems with your bookie and your gambling addiction. Let's just get to the boys.
Okay, but for real, can I borrow like $50 when we're done with this gig?
Okay, but you have to pay me back. And if you don't have the money, it's, how else you can pay, which is, ass or grass.
Fair enough, but I will ask you to kindly get off my lap.
Well, I figured you didn't have enough money to pay me back, so, we could just get this over with.
Detective Riley, do you hear that? I feel like there's mice or something running around in the vents in this.
Yeah, there's been a weird buzzing in the vents. But
You know what, Detective
What?
Riley? I just realized I didn't know, what the protocol was. I know we haven't known each other for a ton of time, but I didn't want to be empty-handed, so I got you something for Christmas.
you got me a present?
Yeah.
Well, let me. Where is it? Let me see it.
I forgot that I hid it in the vents. Detective Potter climbs up onto the back of his chair and unscrews one of the vents, where he pulls out a beautifully wrapped gift for Detective Riley. It says, "To my best friend, Detective Riley, from Detective Potter."
Oh my gosh, I am so elated right now. I can't even believe you did this. Okay, total confession time. I also got you a gift.
No,
and
you did
I
not
did.
have to do that.
I wasn't going to reveal it unless you had gotten me a gift secretly, but you did, so
I
so
wasn't going
glad.
to reveal mine unless it accidentally started vibrating in the vents. We've got a real gift of the Magi situation, Detective Riley.
Well, your gift is behind that dumpster, so go and retrieve it.
So Detective Potter scampers around the backside of the dumpster, not before grabbing a fire extinguisher and quickly extinguishing the huge dumpster fire that's taking place in the basement of the Bureau, sucking up all their oxygen.
And Detective Potter sees a ripped jewel bag, a couple of them, wrapped around some unknown object inside.
And for you non-local listeners, Jewel is a grocery store in the Chicagoland area.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, grab it. Grab it, quick. I know it might be a little hot.
It's, you're right, it's hot. The plastic's melting to my hand. Wait, Detective Riley, quick, get the fire extinguisher and squirt it in my hands. So Detective Riley grabs the fire extinguisher, points it at Detective Potter's hands, and puts them out. Oh, thank you. Okay. Yes. Oh, no, thank you, Detective Riley. I would say the gift was putting out my hands, but thank you for this gift.
Let's open them together.
At the same time, I was thinking the same thing, but I really don't want to count down from 3 before we open them. Should we just start opening them right away?
Okay.
So Detective Potter and Detective Riley busily start unwrapping. Well, Detective Riley has a little bit more work to do, for Detective Potter has actually used wrapping paper and a bow.
Whereas Detective Riley has used leftover grocery bags that he had to fish out of the trash anyway. That's all he had. But it's the thought that counts.
Detective Riley, it's not just from the burning plastic. I feel like these bags kind of smell, too. Like banana peels or something.
Those baggers, you can never, they never wash their hands. Anyway, get to the good stuff.
So Detective Potter finishes unwrapping his jewel bags, or grocery store bags as they're known outside of the Midwest, and finds himself a delightful gift from Detective Riley. Some might say a very ironic gift from Detective Riley. Thank you, Detective Riley. It's
Yes?
Yeah, it's shotgun shells for my riot gun.
Yes!
Thank you.
So you can bust up all those riots, get those baddies.
Yeah, I know. It's just that I sold my riot gun to buy your gift for you.
Oh, and here it is. It's a 3-pack of Dove soap. Detective Potter.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They were out of the 12 packs and the 6 packs. I could have gotten you, I guess, 2 3-packs or 4 maybe, but
This is going to go on my mantle at home.
Oh.
Right above my bed, so I can look at it every day and think, how ivory white they are and how much that reminds me of you. Thank you so much for this gift.
Do you think maybe instead of on your mantle, you can put it on your body? Maybe your feet?
That seems a little impractical. I'll think about it.
Okay, well, Merry Christmas, Detective Riley.
Merry Christmas, Detective Potter.
Detective Riley, did you check the machine when you came in this morning?
Oh, no.
The light on the machine, the answering machine seems to be blinking.
Indeed. The answering machine, the only workable piece of technology in the sub-basement of the Bureau, had an unanswered message on it.
So the Bureau boys wandered over to the answering machine. Detective Riley licked the tip of his finger, his dirty, dirty finger, and pressed the play button.
Detectives, I'm reaching out to you with a very serious issue. You are not the first place that I went to, but you're definitely the last, because nobody else would take it. You see, I live downwind from a place which some folk have taken to calling the Rotten Reindeer Ranch. And let me tell you, they deserve that name. Every year around Christmas time, for a few weeks, a strange and offensive smell emanates from the place. It's hard to pin down exactly, but I would describe it as a combination of spoiled eggnog, wet dog, cinnamon, oolong tea, compost tea, tea party, and Pokemon, if that rings any bells. I tried talking to them many times, but they're impossible to reach. Whatever's going on there, they're sure trying to keep it secret. Needless to say, all of my family has moved out by now, except for my mother-in-law. So please help, urgently. You're my only hope.
Detective Riley,
Wow.
this sounds like our next case to me.
I wouldn't want to take another case file before we solve this mystery.
This is perfect timing, Detective Riley. He said that the ranch only starts to smell around Christmas time. It's right around Christmas time right now.
This is our case. Okay, wow, that is some freaky stuff.
Well, Detective Riley, I know what he's talking about, that place that they call the Rotten Reindeer Ranch, because we've been getting some, frankly, very local Hill Valley-related cases lately, and the rotten place that they call the Rotten Reindeer Ranch is just 45 minutes outside of town. Now that everyone in town is dead, it'll be super easy to beat traffic out of town, too.
No, I don't think everybody's dead. There's a couple school teachers.
Not Garano Suziette.
No, he's dead.
Or that gym teacher that we crucified.
No, he's dead.
Who framed us, by the way.
Yeah, he framed us. We were still trying to clear our name. We were not. He was the one doing the diddling and all of the rest.
You don't have to plead your case to me, Detective Riley. I'm not a judge. But you should have done a better job pleading your case in front of that judge.
He wouldn't listen to reason, okay? I had graphs. I had charts. I had an inflatable child. I was trying to make clear what the gym teacher was doing to them. You know, demonstration is one of the most persuasive things you can use, you know, as a tactic.
And one of the most sincere forms of flattery. But speaking of graphs and charts and inflatable children, Detective Riley, I feel like we should pack up some supplies for this trip. I got all my stuff back from that boober, by the way. It took a lot of doing.
Yeah, you had to pay that boober like 4 times the amount of a regular boober ride.
Because I had to keep paying him to come back, and then every time he'd come back, I'd forget something else in a different location in his car.
Yeah, we gotta get you some. You know what you need is I got a memory booster. I got a new hookup, and I got this.
No.
I got this memory drug. No, listen. It's going to light up all those areas of your brain that you're not using right now.
Detective Riley, I know you love to imbibe in chemical alterations. I personally don't. So I'm going to be over on this side of the room thinking about what I'm going to bring, yelling it across to you so I don't have to show you each individual item and hold it up for your examination.
Fine. Very well. And you know what? I'm going to go under my desk and into my little lockbox where I keep all of my supplies.
So be it.
And I'm going to start rummaging around, and then I'm going to yell at you what I'm bringing.
Fine. So the Bureau boys retreat to separate parts of the room. Detective Riley under his desk and Detective Potter in the corner of the room where all the file cabinets are and the Bureau boy officially sanctioned lockers.
Detective Riley He shields his keypad as he enters in his secret code 1234567, and then opens his little lockbox to take out a few precious items. Okay, I got antlers, elk antlers, so you know it's going to be very useful.
Fine, I won't bring mine then. Detective Potter, meanwhile, has opened his locker and is rummaging around in the back of it. Okay, good idea, Detective Riley. I actually was probably going to bring the exact same thing. I've got this bag of pixie dust. It's not what you think, Detective Riley. It's relax. It's probably just glitter, but it's something my mom gave me when I was a kid that she said had magical powers that I just kept with me this entire time.
Ah! You kept a magic pouch of pixie dust from me this whole time?
Detective Riley, I'm certain it's just glitter, but it's something that my mom gave me, and when she passed, it's just something I wanted to keep on me at all times, and it seems like it's appropriate for the season and for this mission.
That's good. Okay, very good. I'm also bringing my candy cane hex just in case we run into some real scary Christmassy ghosts.
Oh, candy cane hex? You mean like a spell?
Yeah, but it's also candy canes in the shape of a cross, so it could ward off, Christmas vampires. I could perform a holiday exorcism. I could, summon ghosts of Christmas past to help us out if we ever need help during the case.
Okay, well, it's weird you say candy cane, because I'll bring my candy cane nunchucks then, which is 2 candy canes strung together by a string of garland. Check them out. Detective Potter flips around his nunchucks and shows off some very impressive moves.
Wow. You're, for a guy with such big arms.
Thank you.
You can move pretty fast.
Thank you.
I guess, seeing as though we might get into a physical brawl, I'll also be bringing my chain of my string.
Your string of popcorn?
Yeah, it's a string of popcorn, but these little popcorns pack a punch.
I've been wondering why you've been stinking up the break room every single afternoon for like the past month, popping popcorn in there. It's honestly truly disgusting in there.
A ball and chain, like a big ball, and then it's got a chain attached to it.
You talking about a mace?
Yeah. I guess if you're into that kind of medieval thing, but this is an updated version with popcorn, so it's
much less lethal and ineffective.
Hold your reindeers, Detective Potter. This is gonna wallop some bad goons if we run into any, because it's got a big old ball of there's a lot of popcorn all fused together with hard candy, keeping that popcorn strong, the big ball of it, and then the candy line of popcorn leading to my popcorn shaft.
Is that candy left over from our last case?
You weren't gonna eat it?
Also, I think the restraining order specifically says you're not allowed to talk about your shaft anymore.
Yeah, well, in the company of minors, you're an adult.
Oh, speaking of minors, I'm gonna bring this headlamp. And I actually have been concocting in the lab. I know you've been stinking up the entire break room with your popcorn smell. I've been cooking up some stuff in the lab, just some chemicals, some things I've been working on. One of the things I've been working on is reindeer catnip, or reindeer nip, I guess it should be the real name for it. So I've been brewing up a special brand. So far, I've only been able to test it on just regular deer, but man, does it ever work?
Whoa.
Ask me if it works.
Does it?
It hasn't so far. But I'm hoping it works on reindeer.
Better bring it.
Maybe with a little bit of this pixie dust, it'll work on reindeer. They're a little magical, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they are. Santa uses them to, ride through the sky, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess on that, I'm also bringing my elf hat because it bestows upon me pretty awesome magical powers that I won't go into detail now. Just know that this elf hat is going to be our ace in the hole.
Okay. I mean, I think that's all I'm going to bring. I'm going to throw it in this big red sack.
Yeah. Let me get my stuff in there, too. It's big enough for the both of us.
You're not going to bring your big red sack?
No, I figure we'll use one red sack. You only need one red sack. What is it?
That's a good point. You are going to wear your elf hat, so I guess I'll just go ahead and wear my big white beard and red hat. I'll drive, I guess, and I'll...
Yeah, you get your red coat, you got your beard, I got my long johns and my suspenders, and my elf hat.
How do you have so many green articles of clothing?
So last year I invested in this awesome dye machine, and it just, whatever you want to put in there, it dyes it. And I only have green.
I feel like Gloria Greenwich invested in a dye machine on our last case.
Yes, but no one can prove that it was us. As far as anyone else knows, she dropped that boulder on herself.
So the Bureau boys pack up all their materials, and they throw them into Detective Potter's big red sack. Does it sound kind of sexual when I say big red sack? This is going to be a tough one to get through.
You know, it's one of those things where it depends on the age of the listener. For regular adults who've grown up with shows like South Park and, living in the age of the 2000s, a sack is pretty commonplace as meaning the scrotum for your testicles. But if you were a younger person, perhaps 10, 9, 8,
Keep going.
7, 6, you would think that this was just a bag for carrying items.
Okay, well, meanwhile, as we've been sitting here jacking around about a big red sack, the Bureau boys walked out the front door.
And they loaded up that sack and themselves into...
A sleigh, because their car is in the shop.
And they're using 8 horses to pull their sleigh. Who knows, later on, if it gets too dark, they might need a 9th, to light the way. We'll see.
The Bureau boys didn't mention where they were heading, but I think I saw them headed in the direction of the Rotten Reindeer Ranch, the so-called Rotten Reindeer Ranch, because I don't like that name.
It's offensive, it's naughty, it's gross.
I agree, narrator. Well, this has been an exciting experience, watching these two.
I can't wait to see what happens next.
If you'd like to see what happens next, everyone else out there, go to thebureauboys.com, where you can also submit clues for this case.
To help the Bureau Boys solve this exciting new mystery.
And while you're there, why don't you join the Bureau Boys Informant Network and, I don't know, tell all your friends and family to join too.
Just be aware. The criminals are listening, so don't tell them, because the Bureau Boys are coming for them.
Ho, 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 ho,
Ho, ho, ho, ho, ho, ho, ho, ho, ho, ho, ho.